We begin tonight with the fifth night of protests against ICE immigration raids, with Chicago, Los Angeles, and Denver among the cities where crowds took to the streets today. In Los Angeles, city officials put a curfew in place from 8 p.m. until 6 a.m. tomorrow. And LAPD says that they're currently making mass arrests as several protest groups continue to gather in designated curfew zones. Good evening and thanks so much for joining us. For 12 News at 10, I'm Kariba Devine.
I'm Mark Curtis. With pushback growing amid the ICE immigration raids that are happening across the country, a protest in the West Valley today grew out of control, injuring a police officer. All of this originated because protesters thought there was an ICE raid happening, but police say that wasn't the case.
12 News journalist Chase Golightly spoke with a former Valley police commander about how officers prepare for these situations, especially with more protests planned in the next few days.
Video shows the moments Peoria police officers were pushed, had water thrown at them, and spit on. All because these protesters read on social media police and undercover federal officers were part of an immigration raid, which have sparked other protests here and around the country. But police say that's not why they were at Peoria and 67th Avenue. They responded to a drug-related incident with Homeland Security investigations, and it had nothing to do with immigration. The misinformation eventually leading to an officer getting assaulted by one of the protesters and a person being taken into custody. Retired Phoenix Police Commander Jeffrey Hines says more arrests could be coming for those who were there.
You cannot enter into this inner perimeter because if you do, you're going to be arrested.
In situations like this, where protests pop up, police set a perimeter that no one can cross. And because of recent protests, Hines says officers aren't going to let it slide.
Because you're going to start seeing law enforcement, their fuse is going to be very short. You cross those lines, they're going to put their hands on you and they're going to arrest you. And they're going to do it quickly.
Valley police departments are getting ready for more protests. Several are set for this Saturday in Arizona for what's being called No King's Day in response to President Donald Trump's birthday.
So we know who's planning what, who's coming where, and try to estimate some of the sizes of the groups that are coming.
Hines says departments are discussing plans for enforcement and backup if needed, telling me they have plenty of tools at their disposal to go after agitators that break the law.
They have facial recognition, they have cameras on poles, they have drones.
Saying the goal will be to keep everyone safe and only step in when necessary.
If you're going to come out and you're going to protest, do it as loud as you want, as vocal as you want, but do not go hands-on with law enforcement. Do not damage patrol cars. Do not vandalize buildings because you're going to go to jail.
Now, according to the No Kings website, it says about 40 protests are scheduled this upcoming Saturday all across Arizona, with one being held right here at the state capitol. We're live in Phoenix. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
Chase, thanks. President Trump spoke about the LA protests during a visit to Fort Bragg today. The president telling the crowd that he is standing by his decision to use the National Guard and Marines to restore order in the city. During his address to troops, the president pledged to liberate Los Angeles.
I've deployed thousands of National Guard troops and hundreds of Marines to protect federal law enforcement from the attacks of a vicious and violent mob. And some of the radical left, they say, oh, that's not nice. Well, if we didn't do it, there wouldn't be a Los Angeles. It'd be burning today.
In response, the state of California has filed for an emergency order to bar the administration from using the military. A federal judge has scheduled a hearing for this Thursday.
And back here in Arizona, these protests were just one of the first topics of tonight's debate in District 7, hearing from Democratic candidates in the race for the late Raul Grijalva's congressional seat. The 7th congressional district includes parts of Tucson, Yuma, Nogales, and other areas in southern Arizona. It's a majority Latino district and is historically a safe Democratic seat. 5 candidates took to the stage for tonight's debate and were asked about their reactions to President Trump's calling in the military to respond to immigration protests.
When you're calling the National Guard in, when they haven't been asked by the governor or the mayor, what you're doing is you're actually sending them in against protesters that are there expressing their freedom of speech and their right.
Right now, we are seeing an executive who's running ramshot over the entire Constitution. He's deciding what is legal and what is not, and no one is holding him accountable.
I condemn any violence whatsoever in riots. I don't really see much, though. People on the ground are saying it's unnecessary. Deploying the National Guards and Marines, that's a little bit of overreach. That's a little bit of a reaction.
What we are seeing in the streets of LA and on our screens is heartbreaking. And it is what authoritarianism looks like.
They have every right to protest against what's happening. They have every right to say no to ICE. They have every right to say no to the abuse of picking on the most marginalized people.
And tonight's debate comes ahead of a primary on July 15th, the general election scheduled for September 23rd. New details tonight in the case of two Arcadia High School students who were killed in a remote part of Arizona last month. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office now says that 18-year-old Pandora Julesrud and 17-year-old Evan Clark were shot to death, but not close to where their vehicle was. Investigators say that despite looking into all leads, they still haven't been able to make much progress. If you have a tip, you can call the number on your screen and remain anonymous.
New at 10, a Valley couple was murdered on the Las Vegas Strip, and the entire shooting was live streamed on YouTube. It happened last Sunday night near the Bellagio fountains. 12 News journalist Gabriela Becerra is joining us in studio after speaking with their children. And Gabby, it was shocking to see this all over social media, and even worse, that appears it stemmed from a social media feud.
Well, that's what Las Vegas Metropolitan Police are telling us. They say the suspect and victim seemingly knew of each other and had previous conflicts over social media leading up to this shooting. And I want to warn you, some of the video we're about to show you may be hard to watch.
One in the same.
They were literally soulmates.
Is how Rodney and Tanisha Finley's 4 children described their parents.
They were beautiful. They were beautiful people.
Tanisha,
the life of the party,
always put her family first.
She was loving. She was caring. She was always there for us.
And Rodney made every moment special.
He was just the funny guy that everybody loved, and he made a big impact wherever he went.
The Finleys loved Las Vegas, which became like a second home for the couple, even documenting their travels on YouTube.
This weekend was actually supposed to be a birthday trip for my dad.
But their celebration was cut short by an act of violence. The couple was live streaming on social media near the Bellagio fountain Sunday night when another YouTuber allegedly pulled out a gun and fired several times.
Our officers rendered medical aid to both victims, but their efforts to save those victims' lives were unsuccessful.
Las Vegas Metropolitan Police say 41-year-old Manuel Ruiz initially ran off, but turned himself in the following day. He's facing 2 counts of open murder with a deadly weapon. According to reporting by the NBC affiliate in Las Vegas, Ruiz is being held without bail after allegedly telling detectives he fired in self-defense, believing the couple was armed. But police say no guns were found or seen in the video posted online.
One of the last messages I had from my mom was that she was going to be coming home tomorrow, and that she would see me tomorrow.
The Finleys left a lasting impact on their online community.
He was a legend.
And will leave an even bigger hole in the hearts of their large, loving family.
They were just 2 beautiful people. I just want them to be never forgotten.
A GoFundMe page was created to help this family pay for funeral expenses. We have a link to that on 12news.com. I'm Gabriela Becerra, 12 News.
All right, Gabby, thanks. Day 4 of testimony in Lorie Valow Debel's latest trial. She's already been convicted in Idaho and here for the deaths of her children and former husband. The I-Team's Erica Stapleton breaks down what happened in court today and when this latest trial is likely to end.
Another jam-packed day in the courtroom with new witnesses and new evidence. In this case, Lorie Valow Debel is accused of conspiring with her brother, Alex Cox, to kill her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreau. Investigators believe Cox tried to shoot Boudreau outside his home in Gilbert in October 2019. She's pleaded not guilty, and she's representing herself. She started Tuesday by continuing her cross-examination of the Gilbert detective on the case.
So is it not in your protocol to preserve evidence?
It's in our protocol to preserve evidence.
The prosecutor on redirect.
Did Brandon Boudreau stop at the time of the shooting and put down a little ticky-tack marker and say, better note this for later so I can tell the detectives exactly where my vehicle was when I was shot?
No, he did not.
Were you surprised he didn't do that?
Not at all.
The jury also heard from a forensic scientist who testified to finding Alex Cox's DNA in the Jeep believed to be used in the crime. We also heard from Lieutenant Ray Hermosillo, an Idaho investigator who testified to finding the Jeep in Idaho and guns in a townhome rented by Alex Cox, who can't be charged in any of these cases because he died before charges were filed.
There was a lot of ammunition.
Lieutenant Hermosillo also testified to storage unit surveillance footage of Alex, Lorie, and her current husband, Chad Daybell.
The same day that we have someone in Gilbert, Arizona, firing a rifle out of the back window of a Jeep without a spare tire, we see Lorie Valow and Chad Daybell putting a tire and what could be a bench seat into a storage unit that Lorie Valow rented.
That's correct.
And today we saw Alex Cox carrying that out.
By himself, correct.
Lieutenant Ray Hermosillo, a familiar face. He was the main investigator in Idaho in the deaths of Lorie's children, Tylee and JJ. He testified against Valow Debel before in her Idaho trial, where she was ultimately sentenced to life in prison. She had no questions for him in this case on cross-examination.
The prosecutor says she intends to call one more witness before resting her case. If Lorie Valow Debel does not call any witnesses or present a defense, closing arguments could start as soon as Wednesday. Erica Stapleton, 12 News.
Erica, thanks. 12 Plus is streaming the entire trial, so make sure that you download 12 Plus on your TV right now and watch for free. We'll also have a nightly recap show at 8:30. Again, that's exclusively streaming on 12 Plus.